This is going to be with ExteriorEmma, pronouns she, her. If you want to say a little bit about yourself, Emma, feel free.
Well, hello everyone. I'm Exterior Emma. I'm a trans speedrunner who is sometimes good. And I have an interesting one for you today. Um, I hope you're all ready for the wackiness. I hope you're ready for the RNG. And just, yeah, the worst Jurassic Park game. um, but yeah, when we're going to be doing this on T-Rex rating normal, and I will explain further as the run goes along what that will entail for us. But I will count us down, and that's when time will start. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. So this came out a year after the movie did in 19. So movie came out in 1993. This came out in 1994. This was meant to be a killer app for the Panasonic 3DO,
Secure
which at this point was kind
Select
of a
tracking
commercial
location.
failure
Select
because it
destination.
retailed in the US for $700
Displaying video.
because of its weird kind of way of manufacturing. Rather than like one company make a single console like how Nintendo or Sega would, instead the hardware specs were made by a company called the 3DO company, and then they would license out their hardware to manufacturers such as Panasonic or Gold Star. Panasonic ended up being the most common one, so they made the console. However, just so that they could make a profit on that means they had to retail it in the US for $700, which means nobody bought it, and it was a colossal failure, which was considered interesting because at the time this console was pretty hyped up in terms of, you know, CD-based technology and what have you. And one of the big things that they were going to do was that MCA, who was doing like partnership with Seagrams, who at the time bought Universal Studios, decided they wanted to do tie-in content for the 3DO. So that includes this game here, Jurassic Park Interactive. It ended up being made by a studio called Universal Studios Interactive, who you may remember not as a developer, but instead as a producer, because right after
Select destination.
This
Displaying
game,
video.
and after it failed, they basically became game producers rather than game makers. So they would basically produce and fund smaller studios that were up and coming to make video games for them. And so right after this, they worked on a game called Way of the Warrior on 3DO with a development studio called Naughty Dog. And the development of that went by smoothly enough that they then created Crash Bandicoot together. Now that I've got the history of basically this game out of the way, what is Jurassic Park Interactive? I'm being silly. With that, there he is. Go. Alright, so Jurassic Park Interactive was hyped up to be like, oh, this immersive experience, thus, you know, the title of interactive. But the problem with that is the game is basically made by people who probably didn't have too much software development experience to begin with. So the result is a
Select
series of
destination.
mini games, essentially.
Displaying video.
Of course, we have these main ones we're doing right here. We have security tracking. What we're trying to do is we're trying to save every park guest that's out there, including Dennis Nedry for some reason, even though both in book and movie he dies. We have to save everybody by taking them to the heliport. And when we move to new locations, we do 3 types of mini games. You already saw the first 2. I'll explain this one real quick as I'm doing it.
And just a quick reminder that we still have a donation roll for $25 for your chat.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Be excited for that. So that was basically the Dilophosaur rail shooter bit. You have to defend yourself from the Dilophosaurs by charging up a stun gun and then shoot them, and they fly off the screen like they're a little cartoon. However, you don't want to shoot the ones that aren't actually aggro against you because it just adds more that attack you, and it takes longer to do. Now that we're moving into this mini game, this is the second and final time we're doing it, and thankfully we do it 2 times, because if we did it more than twice, it gets hard really fast. But what this is here is a first-person like survival horror sort of thing, where the goal is you need to get out of the building by finding the key. So last time when I interacted with that spot, I got the exit key. Instead, I have to go into door number 2 now to get the next one. However, while we are inside of this building, we are being chased by raptors. And what the devs intended was that you are meant to kind of manipulate the raptors and like trap them into these rooms. But like, I'm just gonna be honest, that is way too stressful. Okay, good. So for some reason I can't hear the heartbeat. Maybe it's probably playing on stream, but what's supposed to happen is that you're knowing that the raptor is coming up to you when your heartbeat gets faster and faster and faster. I don't know how Dennis Nedry or Muldoon even have like the means to track that, but we've made it. Now, the reason why I'm doing it in this order, we're going to now go to engineering systems. And here's why I'm doing it in this order. So,
Level 1 security.
In order for me to get the fastest possible exit out of that second level, I needed to do that first before this, because these are Bizarro arcade games that are meant to accomplish the major task of calling back a cargo ship from the mainland. And to do that, you got to get to level 5. However, the scoring in these games are all dependent on RNG, and the RNG can be bad enough that it takes too long to accomplish, that task. So the longer the game goes on, the harder all the main security tracking levels get, meaning instead of getting the exit key out of door number 2, you got to go to door number 3 instead. And at that point, it's too stressful and it takes too long. But yes, so by us playing this game, we are hacking into Dennis Nedry's security stuff. And in all of them, we have to score 20,000 points.
Access permitted.
Except for level 5, and I'll explain that, because it's odd. But yes, we just played Space Invaders. Here's Galaga. Remember, this is supposed to be for a cutting-edge $700 video game console in 1994. They actually considered making this a pack-in title. And we got that. We're now going to level 3.
Level 3 security. Access permitted.
Now, level 3's minigame is... Level 3 and 4 interchange for me on how much I dislike them. But welcome to Dino Eggum. And I can see we got the bad RNG. We're getting 500 points per score here. So our goal here to score our 20,000 points is we are bouncing an egg back and forth between our... What? It's not paw print. Our print and the wall. And every time... I guess? I guess you could call it that. The footprint, regardless what it is, it's a footprint. But you got to hit colored titles on the wall. This is very reminiscent of Super Glove Ball on the NES, which I don't know why you want to rip that kind of game, but regardless. And with every hit of a colored tile gives you points. Now, if we got good RNG, a tile hit could equal 1,000 points. And that means we will have a quicker exit from this game for 1,000 points. But because we got 500 points, we might be here for an extra second or two. And by that, I mean more like 50 seconds. Because you like bouncing it back and forth, you can kind of manipulate the direction based on where you hit the egg, but overall it is kind of luck whether or not it consistently hits things on the wall. So if you want to do some hardcore speedruns of this, prepared to be annoyed that you're not getting the right RNG. A lot of resets will happen. Actually, in all my practice runs, or my attempts at practice runs, every single one was 500 points, and so was this. So yeah, we're just bouncing eggs, bouncing eggs, bouncing eggs.
Excellent.
We went from Checkcellent to excellent. Excellent.
Yeah,
It's all
terms.
yeah, it's all part of a balanced, nutritious breakfast.
Yeah, we're starting our morning right here at Girls Go Fast.
Yeah. The girls gotta eat. Oh my gosh. Yeah, this is... I think the bounces happen faster as the game goes along, but... Come on, one more.
Is that dinosaur wearing a studded collar?
So...
Level 4 security.
The layers of the tiles
Access
reveal
permitted.
like different versions of the raptor that's coming through. And unfortunately we don't get to see them normally. What's our RNG here? This is kind of an asteroids game. What is our RNG? No, we got the bad RNG. So this is a game where you can score either 250 points or 500 points. Obviously we want the 500 points because, you know, we kill half the enemies. We got 250, so this is why I did the raptor stuff first and like helping out Dennis Mandry and everything, because if I were to sit here and do everything right off the bat with 250 points and all that, I would not be able to escape from the raptor building in 2 rooms. Such is the game. I learned that that is the case just because of how much time it takes just to do this. Anyways, this game is terrible. The controls are very slippery, like, or maybe not slippery, but wait, no, that's right as well. They're slippery and they are way too sensitive, and the hitboxes are very questionable. So yes, 20,000 points. Mash the fire button. Again, this is supposed to be a big budget, like Jurassic Park tie-in game for a console that was $700.
Yeah,
Right there.
This was for the 3DO. I got it mixed up with the CDI, which was another supposedly cutting-edge console that under-delivered.
You know, learning about the history of the CDI, it's kind of fascinating because CDI is technically not a video game console, it's a media format. And
it had one of those old like cable remotes where like if you don't point it right at the console, it doesn't pick up.
yeah, CDI is basically like an alternative form of the CDR, basically. And like when people like look back on the Philips CDI, they think, oh, failed video game console. Why was Microsoft scared of this? But at the same time, though, when you consider Microsoft was banking heavy on the CDR, and in the 80s, the CDI was actually cutting-edge stuff, like the format, Microsoft had every reason to be worried because if CDI was more successful, then Microsoft basically, you know, lost. They decided that they were going to include all that on their computers, so... You know, they wanted to be, you know, cutting edge, not, you know, behind the times instantly. But then development of the CDI got delayed into the 90s, and a lot of companies who saw its potential decided to pull out, and Instead, it was kind of used more as like a PC thing. There was encyclopedias and museum tour guides. And it's only after the deal with Nintendo that they tried to brand it as a video game console. We have finished level 4. That took way too long.
Access permitted.
But yeah, now we're on level 5. We are in the proper Space Invader ripoff. Ignore the fact that you saw Dennis Nedry in like a ballet tutu. Just ignore that. I mean, you've seen him dressed as a pirate before, but don't question it. But yes. So like all the other games, you gotta score 20,000 points. And however, this one, if you just score 20,000 points, you actually fail the mission. Why that? Well, there's a secondary objective you need to do that the game doesn't inform you about. So right here, we're scoring points. Sometimes taking out the floppy disk plus its little cube stuff can equal either 400 points or like 550, 600. And it's looking good so far. I'm making good progress to 20,000. But at this point, this opens up. We can enter in, and now, when we score 20,000 points, we can pass the level. So we're now shooting discs. I don't know if they are CDI, CDR, or if, just standard CDs, but whatever it is, we gotta destroy the data. This is called Rap Attack for some reason, even though it has nothing to do with raptors. Like, maybe it's trying to call upon the bit where Lex uses the computer to lock the door in the movie, but I don't know. It does kind of feel like they kind of cobble things together, because it's like, what makes a fun game? Space Invaders. Got it. Nothing new for our cutting edge technology video game console. Let's do something that was popular in 1978. Yeah, so in order for us to get T-Rex rating, so I haven't explained that yet, but when you complete this game, you can get a rating based on your performance, like how many people in the park you've managed to save, if you've managed to call...
To all levels.
Rebooting systems. Now we have the Isla Nublar security alert. We have now contacted a ship that had raptors on it, and it's turning around. It's no longer making it to the mainland. To get T-Rex rating, that is the highest rating possible, we need to save literally everybody on the island, and we need to do this, the calling back the ship. Otherwise, if you fail any of that, like one person dies, or if you fail to turn the ship around, then...
Select destination.
But now...
Displaying video.
We can continue saving people. So yes, Dennis Nedry, once again, don't know why he's alive. Look at him go. You may have noticed you may notice like looking at these loading screens, and it shows you a picture of Dennis Nedry or Alan Grant and all that. They do not look like any of the actors from the movie. Reminder, this game is made by Universal Interactive. So, they have a direct line of support from Universal Studios. You would think that Universal, having a video game company, would provide more support, to said company. And, help get, like, maybe a licensing agreement, give them a higher budget for that thing, but... nah. Look at them go. So you will get that. Something that's weird, though, is that when you do go to the higher difficulties in this game, you get more characters to save, like John Hammond and Dr. Wu and all of them. But, like...
Select destination.
The only only ones, like the only
Displaying video.
characters that have any footage of them going from place to place, as you see here, like, you know, Dennis Nedry falling over in the woods and then into darkness. These characters on this difficulty are the only characters that have any footage of them, you know, bumbling around a forest or getting into a car. Everybody else just camera malfunction. So they got cheapo actors, and yet they couldn't afford to film all of them. So now that we've accomplished half of our objective, this is where I have to admit it does get a little bit repetitive. The difficulty will gradually go up as time moves on. But, yeah, so we're going to basically be doing a rotation of running away from a T-Rex, which we haven't played again yet, and you're going to see in just a moment because Dennis Nedry has made it to the heliport. His life is saved. He is going to jail for life for being the cause of all this crap. But yeah. Oh, wait.
Select destination. Displaying video.
We gotta save fake Jeff Goldblum real quick. Gotta do one more spitter. Then we're gonna see more.
So at this time, I'd like to talk a bit about charity. So I support the girls. Again, getting to experience poverty or any kind of hardship. It's a really good cause. Again, for this run, we do have a donation goal of up to $25. If we reach that $25 goal in the next 20 minutes before the game ends, we are going to be showing some Animorph dev credits that are pretty cool. We also have a goal for the next game going on, a little bit of war between the cats. So yeah, some pretty cool stuff going on. Again, we've extended our goal. We hit the original goal of $1,000. We have an extended goal of $1,300. I also do want to bring up our partner, Lady Arcaders. They've given us a lot of resources to help run this event. They do have a cool event called Attract Mode every Thursday. Sorry, I have to check these times. Thursday at I believe it was at like 9. Oh, Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, and Sunday afternoon at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Again, that event is to show off different gaming-related talents, whether it is speedrunning, game development, cooking something that was in a video game, doing any kind of knitting, anything. So if you're a woman and you want to show off your talent, you can definitely reach out to them, see if you can get on there. You can also check out the event and see other people's talents as well. So that's just our messages and reminders. We can get back to
Yep. So this is the T-Rex chase. It warns you that the T-Rex moves pretty quick to fast-moving objects. Doesn't matter if you go slow, quote-unquote, though. She moves at the same speed, and she will still crush you, regardless. So don't listen to the advice of the game. So all that really entails is that we are driving away from the T-Rex.
Destination.
Ironically,
video.
by the way, pointing out that when we Nedry here, that the Velociraptor pen is a driving level and not a raptor building level. But yes, here's more footage. I'm going to see, there's a chance it might happen. Oh, there it goes. Car came back. So, yeah. So, the driving controls on the controller are interesting. You press up on the D-pad to accelerate. You use the shoulder buttons to steer. And you press the A button to put down the mirror. If you have the mirror up, it actually makes the car drive slower because I guess the logic is that you are both paying attention to the road and the T-Rex chasing you, but you don't really need to see the T-Rex chasing you the whole time. You just need to focus on the road. So by putting it aside, you drive quicker, and I am just hitting everything right now. But in order to get through this the fastest that you possibly can, you want to dodge everything that's on the road. As the level gets more difficult with time, items just kind of poke out further and further into the road, and they happen more frequently. To dodge all these items, like say like that turned over Jeep or the Triceratops skeleton or branches, you just kind of have to get the item in your peripheral vision, and then that's good enough. So the first time we do this, it's at the easiest, earliest possible, kind of like how the Raptor levels are at their easiest when you do them as soon as possible. The first time we do this will always be half a mile, but from this point forward, we got to drive a mile every single time. So, yes, this is supposed to be Jeff Goldblum, by the way. Like, that's how, how do we make up for that? Get this guy. He looks just like him.
Displaying video.
Did you miss him? Kind of blended into the trees a little bit there in the darkness. But yes, we're back to so for the rest of the run we are kind of doing a cycle of this and just, hopefully not screw up like that, just miss my shot. Miss 3 shots.
I like how when you shoot the spinners, they just kind of spiral into the abyss.
Yeah. Wow!
Again, just a reminder to everyone, we got that $25 incentive for that animal credit.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
also the cat bid war for the next game, and it looks like they Resident Evil 4 remake Leon's costume as well. So we have a lot of different things going on. But let's try and get that dev credits done, the $25.
Oh yeah, you don't want to miss it. Those epic 1994 morph effects.
Destination.
Yeah, those sold
Displaying
books.
video.
Those sold books. That sold video games and TV shows.
Yeah.
Real life. You know what? It makes sense because when you look at the console, it says real on it.
I kind of miss slow motion.
There's some cool indie games out there that do a pretty good job with that kind of thing.
Yeah.
What's that one about the news station?
I'm not sure.
Like you're like part of like a propaganda wing basically, and you gotta like be able to like edit like camera angles of interviews and put in the bleeper whenever someone like swears, or all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, no, I know what you're talking about. I just can't think. I can't think of the name. I haven't personally played it.
Select destination.
Someone in chat's
Display
gotta
video.
know.
I meant my computer touching the acid. Yeah, you don't want that to touch your eyes. You'll go blind. Nedry should know all about that, but apparently he doesn't because he lives. But beware, there's a Tyrannosaurus Rex on the loose. I love the descriptions that they give. It's just so like, but beware. And like the first thing that happens is the mirror is up there and it's like, whoop, there's the T-Rex. Better go. Like beware is like, oh, warning, you might be caught by the T-Rex. You're caught by the T-Rex instantly. Now, if I could make a comment on one thing, for the most part, the music in this game isn't too bad. In fact, that's the thing a lot of people reviewing this game back then. Why am I hitting everything? My gosh. I'm pretty poor with that. A lot of reviewers and critics agreed that the best part about this game is the fact that the music is pretty good. And we do have the Jurassic Park theme in there as well. It's just that we can't play that because, you know.
Copyright.
Yeah.
It's okay to hit things. We gotta go fast.
So here we go. Oh, and you do have a random RNG chance of the T-Rex just suddenly like rubber banding up to you and just hitting your Explorer one time. Whoa. There we go.
Select destination. Displaying video.
So yeah, like that's ultimately like your time saves with those segments is you save progressively like more time like the less you manage to hit something on the side of the road. Which, by the way, considering how many overturned Jeeps there are, I'm just wondering if like Hammond really meant it by spared no expense. And like what he meant by that was like, hey, I bought like 500 Jeeps just for this park. Even though like you watch the movie and it's not that at all. There's like 2 of them.
I don't know. It was probably easier to stream like Jeep image and.
More shooting. Congratulations, you have made it. There may be more stranded guests. There might be more people around here. You never know.
Select destination. Displaying video.
But yeah. But yes, in fact, if you were to look on the Panasonic FZ10 3DO console, it does say real, and it says 3DO interactive multiplayer. They did in fact use that in their advertising as well. You may have seen the ad of them just absolutely abusing a Genesis and a Super Nintendo by throwing them in a toy box. And saying that the 3DO was, you know, the real console. And it was real, alright.
Yeah.
There's some...
That competition usually doesn't work too well. It didn't work too well for the Ouya.
The only time it's ever worked, and that didn't last long.
Yeah, they had to change strategies eventually.
Like, the big thing of the day, and maybe I'd say this is still kind of true today.
Select destination.
But a big thing about
Displaying
having
video.
new video games to try out, like when the new console is out, is you get a chance to play it at maybe like your friend's house or something. Or maybe you have a family member that owns it. And that's your exposure to that. And that's what convinces you, oh, I want to buy this. But considering, the price tag of a 3DO, we're talking like, what kid is going to be able to go up to their parents and go, Mom, I want that? Like they're going to bulk at $700. And like, it's not that like the 3DO is devoid of a lot of bad titles. They do have slightly better versions of some Sega CD FMV games like Night Trap. It has a really good version of the original Need for Speed. The Wolfenstein port is probably, out of all the original like 90s consoles, like probably has one of the best console ports of Wolfenstein 3D there is. Thank you to Rebecca Heineman for that. And also salute to her for putting up with making the Doom port as well, because the guy who was heading the company doing the Doom port was a real interesting guy. So it's not that the 3DO is devoid of bad titles. There's plenty of good games. It's just that, for the financial risk of the time, like $700, like nowadays can buy you like quite a lot. Like adjusted for inflation.
So, just some quick reminders again. We do have our donation goals. This run's coming to its end soonish, so we do want to try to get that $25 goal for the Animorph dev credits. Alternatively, if you want to get merch, a portion of that merch also does go to the charity as well. I support the girls. But yeah, just a quick reminder about that. Back to you, Emma.
Thank you. I have to apologize. I didn't even realize. Whoop! I'm quiet for some reason. But yeah, what was I saying? What was the last thing I was heard speaking about? With like, is it like trying out the new game console?
I don't even remember. I just heard the sound. Oh yeah, I think I do remember you saying about trying out the new game console and how like it was a point for kids.
Yeah, and yeah, you also like what I was trying to say as well is like it's not that there's like bad games on the console, because it has like out of those consoles, like between like the Super Nintendo and what have you, like the 3DO has the best console port of Wolfenstein 3D, made wonderfully by Rebecca Heineman, who also made the Doom port, though that one was way worse just because of the bizarre circumstances around the game. But that's a different story for a different time.
Displaying video.
This console has a great port of the original Need for Speed. And there's plenty of decent ports also of like Sega CD FMV games. Like the port of Night Trap isn't too bad. Or other those FMV games like Double Switch with Corey Haim. But yeah, when they're floating around that the killer app is this game right here, and when you adjust for inflation, like I believe like what that $700 would be like an equivalence of like well over $1,000 nowadays. Would you basically be spending $1,000 to play this? I have to know. Does that seem like a wise investment?
I can't even think of what else is on the 3DO, like other than like PUBG.
Oh, that was PlayStation, though.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
I thought there was something PUBG on 3DO. I could be mistaken though.
You might be thinking of the Bubsy game that's on the Atari Jaguar.
Okay.
Yeah. We've saved Ellie. One more guy left. It's the guy who says clever girl.
Select destination.
Even though that's clearly not him.
Displaying video.
We have one more T-Rex drive, and we got 2 more spitters, and that's it. We got T-Rex rating. We saved everybody. We're a hero. But, see, what's interesting about the 3DO as well is that, like, it had its huge price point, but also at the same time, you know, this came out in 1994. 1994, I'm pretty sure it was 1994. 1994 was when the PS1 came out, and originally, fun fact, development for Metal Gear Solid started out on the 3DO. And then Hideo Kojima saw the specs of the PS1, was like, whoa, so much better than this thing. This thing chugs. I'm hitting everything. Whoops.
It's okay, we gotta go fast.
Yeah, we gotta go fast. If you hit way too many, the T-Rex does catch up with you, and you get squashed. That was in my peripheral vision. Kind of hard focusing a little bit. Still doing terrible, but that's alright.
It looks
After
like it
this,
controls like it's raining.
like it's raining. You know what? It's because like for the pure speed you gotta go to like really like turn this, like to dodge everything. It really feels like you're just Tokyo drifting everywhere. Whoa. Whoa. All right, no more T-Rex levels. We've made it. Little did we know the 3DO is capable of this. You know what? You got me
Select
there.
destination.
You got me there, of course.
Displaying video.
You know, like Hideo probably should have stayed on the 3DO. He should have seen the wonderful work by Universal Interactive making its very first video game and going, wow, this is stunning. Metal Gear Solid should be right on here. All right, let's survive the spitters. The dinosaurs. Get off the screen. There we go. So yeah, we're going to be doing one more spitter level. It's going to take about a little over, like, with the loading, about 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes. So if you want to do that credits incentive, now is the time to do it. This is your very, very last chance. I hope you do it because it's funny.
Destination. Displaying
Yeah,
video.
let's call for the incentive. Don't worry, I'll be watching out for it.
If it doesn't work, I will still... You know what? No. Because it'll take too long. Shoom, shoom. Alright, 4 more. 3 more. 1 more. I missed him. All right, and then time. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. It's the music. Uh-oh. Ah, the music. Did we meet the incentive by chance?
We did not, unfortunately, no.
Well, you can see the beginning. Thanks to our families, I'm going to tease you. No. Looks on in disappointment. But yeah, that was Jurassic Park Interactive. We got the best rating. Everybody, even though one of them was, or actually two of them weren't supposed to survive. And then you know, we hacked into Nedry's arcade game remakes to call back cargo ship. So I'd say we got a lot done in the last, like, how much? 43 minutes?
Yeah, thank you for showing off the run. Do you want to tell anyone about yourself, where to find you, anything you want to promote or hype up?
Yeah, so you can find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/ExteriorEmma. I also have under that handle on bluesky.social. And you can find me in those places, possibly writing about music, writing about video games being odd, that sort of thing. Trying to think. I thank you for hosting, and I thank Girls Go Fast having me here to do this, though it's not quite it yet for me today. I'll be back later. So maybe that's why I'm a little bit hesitant to like keep going on and on in proper detail, because I'm like, I'll be back. Just you wait. But yes, I'd like to, but yeah, again, thanks for having me on for at least this game. This game would be incompatible with so much, like so many other marathons, and I'm glad that we could have it a little silly this morning, you know, get Chex Quest, and then we get some cat golf going on.